Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the main event's summer Sidecard. Ryan Baldwin here, Mason Shepard in the computer. All the way in there, stuck inside. I can't get him out, but still managing to watch sports from all the way in Texarkana.
It's peaceful, man. Being stuck in technology.
And I mean, even the best part of it being stuck in technology is that you get to instantly watch the Black Adam trailer as soon as it comes out.
Yes.
You know exactly when it's going to happen.
Oh yeah, man. It was it was electrifying. Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. Moving on.
Speaking of electrifying, see, I was doing a segue.
Oh yeah. Speaking of electrifying, Game 3 of the NBA Finals was Wednesday. Game 4 tonight in Boston. Boston with a 2-1 series lead, and the big story out of Game 3 was, of course, Stephen Curry's injury. Very, very similar to the injury he sustained where he missed the regular season, also against the Celtics. With a couple of players diving for a loose ball. And I believe it was Marcus Smart coming down on top of him in the regular season. It was Al Horford this past game. And that's a 240-pound man coming down on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Marcus Smart's one thing. You got tall, big
Al Horford is a big old man laying on top of there. So Curry is expected to play tonight. How healthy he's going to be, I don't know, but he's obviously got to play because he's been the best player on the Warriors by far. It's not even close. Without him, it's out. Jordan Poole is MIA. Draymond Green is taking way too many shots and making like 2 points on it. And Clay has been okay, but when the Warriors are good, Clay's got to be really good.
Yeah, I kind of hate this for Boston, to be honest. Because if they win, it's going to be that caveat.
Oh, people are going to put that asterisk where it's like, well, you beat the Warriors, but Curry was hurt.
Yeah, and you and I have watched sports and loved sports and been fanatics of sports long enough to know that, you win the title, sure, but like those caveats, it's just some people, they throw them up.
I would bet that most people would give Boston the benefit of the doubt based on the fact that they won the 2 games before Curry went down. Like they were up 2-1. And it took Curry lighting up game 2 to really, and I mean, Draymond played pretty well in game 2, but like for the most part, Boston's been the better team, I would say. So I think the only people that would say that would be Golden State fans. And they're
going to make excuses regardless, like any team would, per se. But I mean, you're right. I think in the grand scheme of things, when you look at this for Boston, it's that, if we're being honest, they have played, in my opinion, better all around basketball than the Warriors. Oh, yeah. And it's kind of like what we talked about in the first show, where it's like when it comes down to basketball, there are so many moving parts that if you focus on one too much, kind of like the Warriors do, which is scoring, everything else kind of drifts off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And with Boston, because they have people like Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, in my opinion, is a better scorer, but those are your defensive guys. You got guys like Al Horford, like he's not expected to score too much, but he's like your rebounder, and you get him in there. Yeah. And then you got Mike White, Jason Tatum. You got the guys that you want to shoot the ball. But I think, Boston, what I like about Boston is like they have shown no fear of the legend of Golden State. They beat them in the regular season. I know this, but in this environment where it's different, where there's a title on the line, they've showed no fear. They're like, yeah, we know you're the Golden State Warriors. We don't really care.
And like the Celtics too have done a really good job of spreading it out. Like Jason Tatum is great and Brown is great, but they're both like playing at about the same level. But like on Golden State, it's really like Curry's here and everybody else is down here, to the point where everybody else needs to come up here. And that's not as easy to do as opposed to the Celtics. Like in game 3, Brown had 27, Smart had 24, Tatum had 26. 3 players in the 20s. And then of course, Al Horford with 11 points. Meanwhile, in the Warriors, you had 31 from Curry, 25 from Clay, but he shot 5 of 13, 7 of 17. Andrew Wiggins had 18, but it was 7-16. So the Celtics are just playing all around better. I think from 1 to 5, at least in 2 out of the 3 games. I think you could argue Golden State played better in game 2, but I mean, it's a good final so far. This is what I wanted from the finals. I wanted back and forth. I didn't want a 4-0 sweep.
No, I don't think anyone. It doesn't even matter what the playoff is. Whether it's the NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, whatever. You don't want the playoffs to be one-sided.
Unless it's your team. No, because if the Mavericks were in the finals, I'd be like, no. I'd be like, let's 4-0 and call it.
Unless it's your team. I mean, that's something you can brag about. Right. You can be like, yeah, we swept all the way. But, when it comes down to it, I think this is something that could ignite people. And we talked about this so many times, whether it was Sports Zone or the main event, that could ignite people's passion to watch basketball again. Because, millions of people still watch every single day. But at the same time, not as many as when I was growing up, and definitely not as many as when you were growing up, for sure. Because when you were growing up, there could be an argument made that basketball was just as, if not almost eclipsing football, just a little bit. Not eclipse, but almost.
To be really, football as a whole was bigger. It was just the Bulls were so much bigger than any team. Like they were the most popular individual team, but I think football as a whole was still
and I acknowledge that, and that's why I said partially eclipsing. What I take into account of it is the impact that basketball has had on popular culture, in the sense of, especially in that time, the Jordan shoes, and people were wearing jerseys in the street and stuff like that, and you don't really see as many people gathered around. Like, there used to be NBA finals, parties, like there used to be Super Bowl parties. No one really does NBA finals parties anymore. You just watch it when you can. But Super Bowl, everybody still gets together, even if they're not football fans, to watch the big game. So football will always eclipse it because it's football. But, as far as this finals goes, I'm with you on that. This is what I wanted. I wanted competition. I'm glad Boston is not showing any fear and is not afraid to, turn the heat up. And, the truth is, if Boston keeps playing true to their game, they don't need to be trying to compete with the Warriors. Steph alone, don't compete with him in a 3-point contest with your whole team, because he's been known to shoot out whole teams before. So, slash to the rim, get to the basket, draw fouls, play solid defense, get boards. Don't focus on, I got to put up, 17 threes, and, because that doesn't help anybody, unless you make them.
It's going to be hard to do that against the Warriors, though. All right, game 4 tonight, 8 p.m. in Boston, and Boston with a 3-1 series lead could be looking like a good favorite. So this is kind of the rubber match where, if you can go back, if you're Golden State, you can go back home in basically at that point a best of 3 with home court advantage. You're feeling pretty good. And if you're the Celtics, going up 3-1, and all you got to do is win one, and you're golden. So this is a big, big game. So now moving on to NFL, because I understand there's some stuff in the NFL that you wanted to touch on. So
it's not. So one of the things that happened as far as the NFL goes that not a lot of people are talking about, which I think they should, my dad and I both agree on this, as it pertains to the Denver Broncos. They will potentially, I think the deal is already done potentially, but they are more than likely going to get bought by the Walton family. And for those of you who don't know who that is, that's the family that owns Walmart.
Yep.
Can you imagine how many billions of dollars they already have?
Way too many.
And the thing with me and my father especially was we both were not particularly happy about this, very verklempt over this, because of the fact that there were 2 black men, 2 black billionaires who put in bids. Now, we don't know if they withdrew them. That information kind of really hadn't come out. The NFL is not really going to divulge that. But, we don't know if they withdrew them or not. I doubt that. But they made it known to Roger Goodell that they were interested in purchasing the Denver Broncos. And for it to go to the Walton family potentially, because I feel like that deal is already done at this point, but we just have to say potentially because it hasn't come out yet that the Broncos are owned by the Waltons.
Yeah. So Tuesday, it was announced that a sales agreement had been reached with the Walton Penner Group. So
Yeah.
it's not. That's the other thing too. Is like an individual is going to find it hard to outbid a group because it's not just the Waltons; it's somebody else too, and it's for
Yeah.
4.65 billion, and that's
Yeah.
4.65 billion that they basically have laying around. It's going to be hard for any one individual to compete with that.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, owning a team, and it's the NFL. But see, here's the thing: the NFL had made a big deal about how they are, they wanted to, put more minorities, not just on the field. And when I mean field, folks, I mean sidelines and the coaching staff. Do not mean player wise.
Yeah.
That's hilarious enough in itself, thinking that, but. They also wanted to put them in the boxes, owners, general managers, mostly owners. We have black general managers and otherwise, but owners. And so when, the group, including the Waltons, is the highest bidder, basically, as you put it, which is the truth. And the NFL's like, okay, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're just going here. It's like, don't make this huge deal about, I want minority owners when it's just like.
I'm picking up what you're putting down there, but I also don't know exactly how much power the NFL has in this situation, right? Like,
Yeah.
unless there is a clear and present reason why they should veto the trade or the sale, which I'm not even sure how much power the NFL has in that. I assume they have like a little bit. But it could be possible that they have. Oh, okay. So this, thank you. This is why we scroll through here. The sale of the team is subject to review by the NFL's finance committee and must be approved by a full vote of NFL owners. So Goodell basically has no say in this. This is the owners who are already primarily white, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 24 yes votes are needed for the sale to be approved. So basically, I mean, as much, yeah, I agree with you. The NFL can say that, but in this particular situation, Goodell and the NFL has very little to do with it. I assume the NFL's finance committee is basically just checking out the Waltons and making sure everything's in line and that the finances are correct.
Yeah.
And then the vote of NFL owners like Goodell, he can campaign for more minorities in it, but when it comes to the sale, it's subject to the NFL owners vote. So
yeah, and I get that. It's just, here's the thing, and this is why it struck me wrong and my dad. Essentially, it's just because when you see, like, when you have a feeling like, guys like Jay-Z, just black men or minorities in general. I'm not just trying to restrict it to black people, but you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Minorities in general, want to put their hat in the running for owning an NFL team. It's great because we want that representation. We need that representation, especially in times like these. And then when you see that the Walton family and Penner Group, it's a group, like you said, when you see that a group that includes the Walton family is about, is thinking about purchasing an NFL team, you're like, why? What do you guys need this money for? You own the biggest chain of grocery store that exists.
Here's the deal. There's no such thing as too much money or enough money.
No, there's
once
not
you
whatsoever.
start making money, there's always room for more.
Yeah.
So, and think about all the free advertising they can get with the Broncos now.
Yeah, it's just, I think what it's a matter of as a minority is just, I'm not saying anything against you, but I think what it is as minority is just seeing that someone like the Waltons or an Elon Musk, are throwing their hats in and wanting to own an NFL team. It's just gratuitous to you at this point, and you just kind of roll your eyes like,
I agree, so like that's why you see athletes like when Derek Jeter was part owner of the Marlins, it was him and a bunch of people because these groups have a lot more buying power when you come in. Like, so for the Walton Penner Group. It's led by Walmart heir Rob Walton, includes his daughter, Carrie Walton Penner, her husband, and Melody Hobson, who is co-CEO of Ariel Investments, as well as chair of the board of the Starbucks Corporation and a director at JP Morgan Chase. So literally, it's just a bunch of friends with money that are like, let's buy an NFL team. And like, so no, like not like LeBron just hit being a billionaire.
Yep.
LeBron, even LeBron had to go in as part of a group to help buy the Premier League team that he bought, which I think was Arsenal, I want to say. But he had to go in as part of a group. Liverpool. So he became a partner with injection of money from an investment firm. So it expanded his ownership stake. But so you are part owner. Like, it's very hard to buy a full team like this just because of the amount of money that goes into it.
I get that. It's just, once again, to go from potentially making history with the first black or first minority something, and then to go back and it's just like, oh, it's a bunch of white people who just want to buy a team just so they can. It's
frustrating. No, I got you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of frustrating, before we get to the wrestling part, there's something, we're going back to the NBA, but we're going with one specific player because I'm really interested to hear what you think about this, because this is going to involve you more so than me. So I'm using this to branch off into acting, whatever. You're going to do this as a career. So I want to hear your opinion on, and I'll give mine in a minute, on what Kevin Durant said about people like Stephen A. and Skip and Shannon,
and about it leaving.
It,
I saw that, making it worse. Yes.
And I feel like when you get famous enough, because this stuff, like the back of your hand, I feel like that's something you had to be prepared for, even though yours is more radio based, for athletes to come out and say, people like Ryan Baldwin, you sit on his little radio show and talk trash, they make it worse for us.
So on the one hand, I get where Durant's coming from, because I do think there are sports personalities like, I don't think Stephen A. does this on purpose, but there are outlandish takes that he and others make that are clearly either not true or just like everyone's like, that's just a bad take. But you have this multi-million viewer platform and Twitter and your show to be able to say it. So I think there are cases where you're making things worse. But I think the other part of it that Durant mentioned was that there's people that can't play the game, that have not played the game at the highest level, cannot comment or cannot, talk about it. And that I disagree with, because I think, and I played pretty much every sport, at least for a little bit. And I played high school football, high school baseball a little bit, high school soccer, didn't get into college. But you don't have to be a player to have a mind for the game and to study the game. When you watch the game long enough, and if you study the game long enough and you're following the trends, you can then comment on it just like anything else. Like, you don't have to be a Hollywood actor to know when somebody is acting poorly, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can tell, even if you've never been a Hollywood actor, you can be like, wow, that person just did not put in a good performance there.
Yeah.
Same thing with, now, obviously, we don't see stuff going on behind the scenes, but that's not our job. The reporters, the ones that are beat writers, the ones that are with the teams, they're the ones that are doing the inside scoop. And, part of our stuff is to make contacts with them so we can give a little bit of information on what's going on inside. But from a game reaction standpoint, our job is to react to the game and what we see. So if I see you go 0 for 16, I can very rightfully say you had a bad game. If you go 0 for 16 4 games in a row, you had a bad series. That's not disputable.
Yeah, I think undisputed. Yeah. Here's what I will say to this. I feel like, once again, Kevin Durant, Jesus Christ, it's very, very sensitive. Here's what I will say about that aspect. As far as okay, what people like Kevin Durant, and we learned this especially with UNT because we have such a great program. Yes, I did plug my school, shameless plug. What we've learned, especially there, and even you can learn it without knowing this, is like when you're doing a television program, you have to say things that generate buzz. Ryan Clark did that. Now I don't even know if he meant to do it to generate buzz or if he was just an idiot. Because no. But anyway, if you know what I'm talking about when it comes to Ryan Clark. But so yeah, Stephen A is going to say things, or Skip Bayless will say things. Does it necessarily mean that they mean them? Maybe not. Like you said, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We even do this at Sports Zone. I'm not going to try to expose our business, but where you're like, okay, say this. You may not mean it, but say it. Not because we're trying to get viewers, but in our case, we're trying to generate, okay, let's see where your knowledge is, because it's easy to go like, yeah, I agree. But let's put you on the opposite spectrum.
Yeah, like
and
if you
see what you can do.
If you have an MVP pick and I have an MVP pick, we don't want to both have the same MVP pick. So one of us will swap something up so that we can kind of get a little back and forth. Now we'll still pick. It's not like we're not going with Boban Marjanovic winning MVP. We're going with an actual, potential candidate. We just don't want to. We want to have some back and forth in discussion.
Exactly. But in that same sentence, like with First Take or Undisputed, we're creating that back and forth. Why? Because it makes the content better, and it provides content that people want to see. People don't want to see people who agree with each other for 30 minutes. It's boring.
I mean, sometimes, but like you don't want.
Sometimes, but you want that variety. Even when you watch Skip and Shannon, they'll agree on one point, but then you'll hear Skip, and it's more like him will say, I agree with you on everything you just said, but here's where I differ.
It's Skip.
But so I understand that as far as that aspect of making games worse, you brought up acting in that aspect. Let me explain to you why I also agree with you. Turn into Skip. Explain to you why I also agree with you about your take that you disagree with him on saying that if you haven't played at a certain level, you can't talk about it. When it comes to acting, right? And you use that analogy. Acting, someone put in a good performance when they make you feel something. Whether it's a theater, a movie, a sitcom, a cartoon, whatever. If you're sitting down and you're watching something and you're getting emotions, whether you're laughing, crying, you're so focused and you're serious that when someone interrupts you, you're like, shh, I got to watch this. I got to finish this. Stop talking to me. Then someone's doing a great job at acting. If someone's acting and you can clearly poke holes in what they're saying or what they're doing and you're not interested, then like you said, no, I don't have to be a good actor or even an actor at all to know that you're not a good actor. I don't have to do that. And it's the same thing with professional sports, not in the essence of feeling, but in the essence of, unlike Ryan, I did play sports growing up. I was horrible at them, but I did not play to like a high school level. I did swim. I played football like in the second grade. That was it. Soccer when I was like 6 or whatever. I did not play at a very high level because I wasn't good enough. That's why I'm an actor. So I make money with this, not my legs. Anyway, so it's one of those things where it's like, watching sports, no, it's not necessarily about feeling, but it's like what Shannon Sharp said on Undisputed. If I'm watching a game and you do something common sense wise, because I've been watching the game long enough that I know, okay, that wasn't smart. He could have done this. Why did you do that? Then I can comment on it. It doesn't matter. And I think it's not even just Kevin Durant. A lot of athletes say that. How can you tell me about my position? You've never played. You've never gotten this far in your life. I've heard many people, and I disagree with Skip on a lot. Like him as a person, but I disagree with him on a lot. And I think he does suck up to people. But at the same time, I've heard people like Ocho Cinco say some very ignorant stuff. Like, how would you know what it's like? You've never played this. Well, he doesn't have to, dummy. He's got not only numbers, he has eyes, and he knows
as long as you actually study the game, right? There's a difference between like a dude random on the street who watched highlights going like, wow, well that was okay. And then there's that. So like, and part of the reason that I take offense to that is because especially even in high school, I mean, I wasn't much taller than I am right now. I was generously listed in the program at 5'10", and I'm like 5'9" on my driver's license. So I'm actually probably about like 5'8", okay? And I was back then, and I was maybe a buck 30 with wet pads on. So I had to make up for that by watching a ton of film. And that's
Yeah.
how, and that, so, because I was smart, and therefore that's how I was able to play at a pretty good level at the high school. Like, I was never, I had like one kind of sort of offer from a D1 college football, and I was like, but it's not like it was a Power Five. Um,
No.
so, and I played at a pretty decent level, but it was because I watched film and I studied and I knew what to happen with the game. And that same thing carries over to talking about sports. From
Yes.
watching so much film, I know when watching a replay, I can be like, well, this was cover two. The safety never came over. Yeah, the cornerback didn't really get a good push on him, but that safety has to come over at some point to help out because it's cover two. Or you say, oh, well, that was a good route combination because the guy ran a go on the outside and a post on the inside, forcing the safety to make a bad decision on which one to take.
Yeah.
That's easy to see with enough study, even though I have not played the game at a high level, or at the
No,
highest level.
no, 100%. I'm the same way when it comes to football, basketball, and especially pro wrestling, which we'll get into in a minute, where I'm like, okay, like this athlete right here, they were trying to do hip toss, drop down, tackle, drop kick, but obviously his drop kick was 2 centimeters off. Instead of hitting a guy in the face, he hit the guy in the chest. That's not even where he was aiming. You can see things when you've watched it and you studied it.
Yeah.
So I think obviously, because you know how this is the conversation that you have with real sports fans, is we've had this conversation, and we're obviously real sports fans. We've had the conversation. It was on our first show. We talked about the phrase, is it okay to say that professional athletes on a professional level suck, trash? Because we both agreed, no, in the sense of compared to their contemporaries who are the main event stars, sure, you could say that. But as far as like overall, no, because only the 1%, even less than that, make it to professional leagues. But we're smart enough because we've watched enough and know about the game to know that. So I'm with you. Him saying that people, because here's the thing, Kevin Durant, he contradicted himself because he disagrees with a legend like Charles Barkley and Shaq. They say stuff about this game and he doesn't like it. So It's not a matter of sports commentators or analysts who have never played make it worse. Because even Shannon had to say, yeah, dude, I didn't play basketball, but I was still a professional athlete.
He's a Hall of Famer in the NFL.
Yeah, I played football at the highest level. So even though I can't tell you what it's like to make a bucket, I can still tell you what it's like to get prepared for a championship game, playoff games. Again, our playoffs are not as frequent as yours with the finals and a tournament, but it's still kind of the same mentality. So I feel like people who say stuff like that, like Kevin Durant, they're just very disgruntled at the fact that a lot of people know that they're great, say they're great, but they're not going to put over everything that they do.
Well, and like I said, I do think it's about how, and like you said, it's about how you say it. But are professional athletes trash or do they suck? Absolutely not. These are 0.1% athletes in the world at their sport. These are the very best at what they do. Is it okay to say that they had a bad series or a bad game when it's quantifiable by statistics? Absolutely. But I would never, ever say Kevin Durant is a bad basketball player.
No,
he's just not. It's blatantly
then
untrue.
you would need to be drug tested. That's great. Speaking of drug tested or the lack thereof, let's get into the WWE, folks.
Ooh.
So I want you, Ryan, to type up right now. Look up Cody Rhodes torn pec. Look that up while I explain why this is such big news.
Torn pec? I don't know if I want
Yep.
that. Okay, undergoes successful surgery. Okay. Am I looking for the photo of?
Yeah, the photo.
Oh my. That whole
that
whole thing is just okay. Continue.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is Cody Rhodes faced Seth Rollins in a Hell in a Cell match, which by the way is a match where anything goes, anything is involved. So he wrestled with one arm. He had no use of his right arm. Yes, he still went out and wrestled with a torn pec, not because the company told him to, but because he wanted to do it. And that blew the wrestling world up. Also, CM Punk has a broken foot, but he also got that repaired. So surgery. So they're both out, unfortunately. And both companies' top baby faces, AEW CM Punk and WWE's Cody Rhodes, are out with injury. So both companies are, in my opinion, floundering to find that new top baby face. AEW's doing their own thing that I'm not a fan of. And WWE, I don't know what they're doing. They scare me half the time because a lot of their stuff falls through the wayside. But, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because not a lot of us, and this is what I'm saying, this is why I get very passionate, and also it represents who I am. If any of you who watch this follow me on Snapchat, you see wrestling pretty much 95% of what I post, or Instagram. It's a lot. I'm not going to change it. You don't like it, don't watch my stuff. But, like Ryan says, I'm not here to please people. But, it's one of those things where I'm very passionate about it because these men are athletes. This guy tore his right pec. So what happened was there was an angle that he did on Raw where he partially tore it, then working out to get ready for the pay-per-view, just completely tore it off the bone. So this guy, this man, who is a made man now because of this, he went through and wrestled 24 minutes, Ryan, 24 minutes with a torn pec, with 24 minutes.
This picture, I would encourage y'all to go take a look because it is literally just like, you can tell that he's bleeding under the skin from about here all the way down to his arm. It is gross.
Yeah,
it's
gnarly.
Nasty.
When he took off his Homelander themed jacket, the crowd literally fell into a hush. They saw this and they didn't make any noise because it wasn't because they weren't entertained. That was the best match of the night. But for a long time they were silent because they were like, this guy, just look at this. Like I was saying, when people disrespect wrestlers and they say, oh, wrestlers aren't tough, they're not athletes, it's not a sport, this and that, whatever. I want people to look at that. I want people to look at that because will every wrestler wrestle with a torn pec? No, not at all. Most wrestlers and most people would have been like, I can't do it. My pec is torn. No, I'm not going out there. But he did, because this is a sport in professional wrestling where, moments like that can make you or break you. And that even happens as a professional athlete. The Rock, yes, it always comes back to The Rock. The Rock, when his WrestleMania 29 match against John Cena, now he didn't go into the match injured like Cody Rhodes did, but The Rock in his WrestleMania main event match with John Cena took a move, I think maybe 10 or 15 minutes into the match, and tore his adductor right off the bone and had to wrestle another 32 minutes, and not just, play wrestle. And unfortunately, unlike Cody Rhodes, where this was a no disqualification match, The Rock was wrestling a straight up one-on-one normal, all rules implied match. There are disqualifications, there are countouts, there are rope breaks, no furniture, no chairs, kendo sticks, ladders, none of that. Regular match with John Cena. And he had to wrestle 32 minutes left with his adductor completely just torn off. And it's moments like that where you can talk of wrestling is predetermined. Yes, it's scripted. Yes, the outcome, they already know what the outcome is when they go out there. Yes. So it's not a sport in the traditional sense of, is it a unpredetermined contest like the UFC? No. But are these people athletes? Yes. Because I guarantee you the training that's involved, the injuries that result from it, and not to mention, it's not I think people focus too much on the fact that, the outcome is what makes it a sport. Not necessarily, because there are people who consider dancing a sport. Why? Because of that's a whole nother conversation, but because I have a friend who does. But the reason why wrestling is considered a sport, besides the fact these are athletes, they have to train and they get injured, is because to put on a quality match, even though you know who is going to win in the end, that takes physicality, that takes training, that takes skill. i.e., things that are present in sports. So no one, after seeing that, you couldn't tell me this even before this, but after seeing that, no one can ever tell me wrestling is not a sport, and I will never not agree with it.
I mean, it's a legendary moment cemented in wrestling now forever. That is a, sometimes in like Hall of Fames they have like just moments where it's just like not necessarily the person, but it was just that big. That's a moment. That is a Hall of Fame enshrinement type moment that'll live on forever. Every wrestling fan will be like, where were you when Cody, or where were you watching when Cody Rhodes wrestled with a torn pec? I get it. No, I get it. I after seeing that picture, I was like, no, I would be crying like a baby on the ground. That's why I'm on this side of the camera.
When I mentioned that, I was like, oh, I want to see Ryan Baldwin. Torn pec. Just, all right, you ready to do sports?
Nope.
I can't do it. Get somebody else immediately.
All right. Well, we're going from legendary. Yes, I have got spicy drama in the golf world. We're going from legendary moment in wrestling to possibly some of the biggest drama, I might go so far as to say, of all time in terms of golf, professional golf at least. So
is it about Tiger Woods again?
No. But so how much do you know about how golf is like conducted in terms of competitions and stuff?
Okay, so what, as far as news from this summer that I've heard about, and the reason why I phrase it like that is because that's when I kind of got introduced to how it's kind of set up. So the news I got was, of course, there's a Saudi Arabia thing that's going on, that Phil Mickelson's in. So that's great if people didn't already dislike the guy. And I know with the PGA, you can't compete in other tournaments or likewise and whatever.
Well,
without,
yes and no.
Going over it with them, that type of deal in that sense.
Do you want a basketball or a football analogy? Because I can do both.
You can go either way. Okay. I mean, I'd go football.
Okay, so let's do a football analogy. So imagine the NFL, right? Yeah. It is the premier football league in the U.S., takes on all comers. Nobody's been able to challenge it, right?
Yeah.
So imagine during bye weeks, Amazon said, hey, we're going to do a 7-on-7 tournament that's open for anybody, any NFL, college, whatever. It's an open 7-on-7 tournament. Come in. We're going to put a whole bunch of money down on it, and for the winners. And all the NFL players are like, that's free money for a 7-on-7 tournament during the weekend. That sounds pretty fun. So many players decided from the NFL to play in that tournament year after year that the NFL finally just said, you know what? We won't schedule a game on this weekend because we know more people are going to watch and all the NFL players want to play in this 7-on-7 tournament.
Okay.
So then imagine, so the NFL starts scheduling around that 7-on-7 tournament. So there's no NFL games during that season. So then let's say Microsoft does the same thing, but with the skills competition. So there's another weekend that the NFL is scheduling around so that these players can go and do it because they know that everybody's going to be, playing in these tournaments and skills competition type deal because they're going to get a bunch of money out of it if they win.
Yeah.
But so the NFL schedules around it, and they are football events, but the NFL does not actually control these events.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically how the PGA Tour is conducted. It is the top flight in terms of money earning for golf tours. But the 4 biggest tournaments of the golfing season, the Masters, the Open, the PGA Championship, and the US Open, aren't run by the PGA Tour. They are individual events run by different organizations.
Gotcha.
So now imagine that China comes in and is like, you know what? Let's revive the XFL and let's put a whole bunch of money into it. And we're going to have Aaron Rodgers be the president of the new XFL. Because that's kind of like the Phil Mickelson kind of equivalent, Good player. Good player, kind of disliked. So Aaron Rodgers is your XFL president. And the XFL goes, we're going to give everybody the opportunity to make as much money as some of the top players in the NFL and the XFL, because they've just got money coming in from China, pouring in from China. So now players want to play in the XFL, right? Because money. Why not?
Yeah.
So now you start getting guys like Josh Allen starts leaving, Patrick Mahomes starts leaving, Deebo Samuel starts. So some of these top players start leaving for the XFL.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL is like, fine, you're banned from the NFL if you go to the XFL. Straight up. You're done from the NFL if you go play in the XFL. That's basically where we're at with this new LIV Golf Series. There's a bunch of top players that left to go play, and the LIV Golf Series is backed by Saudi money, as you said. But in terms of like money that you can earn, the average for the PGA Tour, depending on the tournament, is like 3 to 20 million, 3 million, 20 million. Every single purse for the LIV Golf Tour is 20 million.
Wow.
So you are playing for as much money each week as you would in the highest tournaments on the PGA Tour. So there's more money to be won. There's less competition because a lot of the good players are still in the PGA Tour.
Yep.
And so a lot of these top players in the PGA Tour started going over to the LIV Golf Series. And the first round of the first tournament started yesterday. And basically, as soon as people started swinging, the PGA said any PGA player that is playing in that LIV Tour is suspended from the PGA Tour. So all these 17 players so far that have either resigned or were suspended from the PGA Tour. Now, the other controversy is as I mentioned, those tournaments that are not run by the PGA Tour but are the biggest draws of the year in terms of golf, have not yet decided. Well, the U.S. Open, has decided that they are going to allow, because it's an open qualification, they are going to allow those players. So now that brings up all these questions of, well, how many people from the PGA Tour could leave to go to the LIV Tour? Should people be going to the LIV Golf Series when it's backed by Saudi money, which, for anybody that doesn't know, Saudi Arabia has plenty of human rights violations, allegations, and confirmations. So I'm not going to call it, some of them are allegations, some of them are proven. So let's just call it dirty money at best.
Blood money. Dirty money, blood money.
So there's that question of, for some people, it's a money move to provide for their families, and then there's a question of morality that goes into it. Should I be playing this tour backed by a country that has all these human rights violations? And then, because that's the other thing too. If the 4 major tournaments are allowing the players from the LIV Tour to come in, then there's really no downside to going to play in the other tour, because you can still play in the 4 biggest tournaments of the golf world, and you can go play for better money overall on the LIV Tour.
Yeah, this is what I would say to this, and this is where we talk a little sports adjacent and a little politics gets thrown in. I love when people keep politics out of sports, and when you say stuff just like that, politics plays a more important role in sports than you think, especially in the terms of that. I'm gonna put it like this. Some people may not like it, but this is kind of the truth when we talk about morality being questioned. There were a lot of players. We're speaking in the NFL. I don't watch golf. There were a lot of let's say the same thing happened in the NFL per se, like you said, your example all the way through, and people, and it was backed by China or Saudi Arabia, and people would question the morality of it.
Well, that's why I picked China too, because they've got their own set of human rights allegations and violations.
Exactly. And so it's like China, and so people are like, oh, you're taking that from China, like whatever. I want those same people to have the same response when people, got upset with Colin Kaepernick for merely using his First Amendment right, or the people who supported Trump who has allegations against him and he was our president. What I mean when I bring stuff up like that is, am I taking up for these people who went to go play for Saudi Arabia? No, but I don't have a horse in that race. I don't care what they do. I don't watch golf, so it doesn't make me it doesn't make me any different. But what I'm saying is, I don't necessarily care for when people call out somebody's morality.
Just be
Now,
consistent with it.
Yeah, be consistent. Now, okay, you put it better than I did. You articulated better than I did. If you're going to call out people's morality, be consistent.
Mhm.
Do I think it's fair that they're getting morality called out for working with Saudi Arabia? Sure, fine. But do I think it's okay when those same people, if they supported Trump, got a pass? No.
Yeah.
You supported someone who had his own allegations and still does. But you didn't say anything about that.
If you don't like, if you don't like athlete golfers going to play in the LIV Tour because of Saudi Arabian money, all that stuff, you should not want the NBA to have anything to do with China. Say it is the same stuff. It is literally, this. I mean, there's allegations of genocide. I mean, I've heard reports it's confirmed. I have not up to date on that. There's at least allegations of genocide going on in China, and that is, the NBA still has a very strong partnership with China. So I'm like, you got to have that same energy. If you don't mind about the NBA in China, then you can't mind about golfers in Saudi Arabia. It's just be consistent with it. I don't care which one you side with. I'll respect your opinion either way.
Yeah,
just be consistent with it.
The other way, but yeah, and I think that's the main thing. Is just and I think that's and I got that from you in the sense of because you called out LeBron for this, and it's fair. I'm not knocking it, but it's just be fair with it. These it's the same people. Oh, we're up in arms about Saudi Arabia and them going to work for them, but you had someone in this country. We're not talking about Saudi Arabia. You had someone in this country use their First Amendment right for something that was actively going on, and you just kept coming up with excuses. Oh, it disrespects the military, which it didn't. Oh, just all this stuff. But you're upset when golfers go to play for a country that you don't have anything to do with, past oil money or whatever, stuff like that. There's no consistency in that.
Also, if we're being fair, pretty much every country at some point has committed some kind of, questionable type stuff in terms of, So like, there's really no grounds. In my opinion, there's really no grounds to stand on unless you are going to completely say that no sports should be funded by any country, really, or anything. Like, there should be, at that point, just be like, everything should have its own independence, and there shouldn't be any countries involved in doing sports, which means no international teams, no international squads, because that's funded by the government. So, I mean, like I said, it's a slippery slope to kind of like go down. And like I said, don't care what your opinion is. Just be consistent with it. Don't cherry pick here and there. Just be consistent with it. So, but yeah, golf drama. A lot of the eyes are on these, like I said, these 4 big tournaments, because that'll determine really kind of, that'll determine the success, I think, of the LIV Golf Series, because it's very possible that if those 4 tournaments don't accept the players that went to the LIV Golf Series, that eventually the money from the Saudi government would run out, or they'll stop caring and stop funding it, and it'll defect, and then it'll go defunct, and then you have all kinds of stuff about how these players might get back into the tour, if ever. But if those tournaments stay open, then right now, in terms of a money and a competition aspect, there's no downside to going over to the new tour.
Oh no, none whatsoever. When you were talking about it, here's the thing. And I think a lot of people are overlooking this. What I like to do in these situations is I like to put myself in the position of the person in question, not necessarily Phil Mickelson, but okay, for example, when the kind of off topic, but it's not really, when the whole thing happened with John Cena, when he was promoting his Fast 5, Fast 9 movie, and then he made the off comment, and the country of Taiwan, and then the Chinese government where he was filming got mad because he called Taiwan a country, and then he retracted that.
Yep.
People, John Cena, and he's doing like spelling Cena Xina, all that stuff, making these jokes. But I always put myself in the perspective of, okay, if I'm shooting in the country that's upset with me, they could close down production and kick us out. The government has the power to do that.
Yeah.
So
no, but I get it. It's just, in John Cena's case, then I don't want to hear him saying anything about any kind of stuff going on in the US, because you've already made it very clear that your loyalty lies with money. So don't give me anything about, stuff going on in the US.
but then again, at the same, see, that's what I'm talking about. Then again, at the same time, it's like, well, you have to put yourself in that perspective.
Oh,
because in my opinion,
yeah.
you can't say that, he did it for money purposes. Maybe it was at the behest of a studio. We don't know. We're not there.
Right. And it's so easy for me to say that's not making millions of dollars. It's easy for us to say when we're not making millions of dollars and we're, millions of dollars are on the line to be like, yeah, just don't do it. Or, you act this way. I get it's totally different than, actually being in that position. And I would like to think that in that same position, I'd be able to stick to my morals. But again, easy to say that, hard to put into practice. And I may never have a chance to put that into practice.
Yeah.
At least at that level.
Yeah. Because you never know. Because if someone went up to us today and didn't tell us that it was backed by Saudi or Russia or China, the main people that the U.S. has a problem with country-wise, and they said, hey, so you have the opportunity to, play in this tournament, dodgeball. It's just a mutual sport. You play in this dodgeball tournament. We know you're with this federation here, but in ours, you could do this one-off tournament a couple times a year. And well, then it's not really a one-off, but you could do this tournament a couple times a year, and you'll make $20 million. And that the dodgeball federation that you're with, like you said, the main tournaments could make upwards of that, maybe depending on where you are. And then you sign the contract, and then it's like, okay, so where's the money funded for this? Oh, it's by Saudi Arabia. You can't tell me that everybody who's criticizing these people, and again, I'm like you, whichever side you're on is your business. I'm not stating mine because quite frankly, I don't really have one. But if you had all these criticizers and critics talking about it, and then you gave them that scenario, every single one of them who's criticizing, you can't tell me that every single one of them will be like, well, I don't want to do it. I take it back. I don't want to do it. So like you said, it's very easy to be in that position, and so it just depends. Yeah. Whatever helps them, if that's how they can sleep at night. And I don't mean that in the sense of I'm telling you what side I'm on. If that's how they sleep at night, knowing that they're playing in this tournament, good for them. If they sleep better at night knowing that they'd rather not play in it, good for them. But as far as people weighing in on their opinions of a person's morality, I discredit those.
Yep. All right. Well, that'll do it for the Summer Sidecard episode 3. That was a bit of a longer one, but hey, we had a lot to talk about, which is good.
You did, yeah.
I enjoy actually having stuff to talk about over the summer. It's good.
Oh, well, 100%. Kevin Durant, keep tweeting.
Give us more material. We love it.
Please.
All right. Well, for Mason Shepard, I'm Brian Baldwin. We will see y'all next week. Have a good day, everybody.